Hello everyone, this is Sabrina from Live Through This. Today we have an interview with writer, poet, and performance artist Nicole Blackman.
The essay that's in the anthology Live Through This is called She's Lost Control Again, or How Alice Learned to Drive, which is based on kind of what happened after I published the poem Holy that's in my book Blood Sugar. It's a poem about a girl who believes that she can transcend the physical world by starving herself through anorexia, and then it's kind of a spiritual process.
I eat only sleep and air, and everyone thinks I'm dumb. But I'm smart because I figured it out. I am slimmer than you are, and I am burning my skin off, little by little, until I reach bone and self. Until I get to where I'm essential. Until I get to where I am.
After the poem was published, a lot of young women wrote to me and seemed to have a very different take on the poem than I intended. They seemed to adopt this as a kind of manifesto, a clarion call for anorexics and for pro-anorexic websites, which really disturbed me because that wasn't my intention at all, but I realized very quickly that once you create any kind of work and you put it out into the world, you really don't have any control over how it's used. So through my correspondence with a lot of these young women, there were hundreds of them who emailed me over the years, and a lot of them were struggling with anorexia, bulimia, cutting, burning, sexual abuse, running away, a lot of issues that I was not equipped to advise them about, but they kept writing to me and saying, we don't have anyone else to talk to. So I kind of got an education in a lot of female self-destructive issues pretty quickly. And there's one young woman in particular whom I call Alice in the story, and it kind of chronicles our relationship a little bit and how it developed and how she's doing now. And so it kind of gives you a sort of broad perspective, and it kind of gives you a little bit of a case study.
I had one review recently that said that I postulated that women self-destruct more than men, and that's not anything I wrote in the intro. But talking about self-destruction, female versus male, why do you think women tend to internalize more?
Well, as you were saying in the essay, the male energy versus female energy, and again, it's a huge sweeping generalization here, so don't write me letters, people. That male energy classically tends to be fuck you, whereas female energy I've found sort of tends to be fuck me. They sort of turn it on themselves. Obviously that's not the case in everything, but I don't know, perhaps it's hormonal, perhaps it's testosterone, makes you want to punch a wall, punch a person, and for a girl it just makes her want to cut herself. I find that the self-loathing is so much more female than male for some reason, and the self-loathing of I'm disgusting, I am whatever they say I am. I'm what my parents say I am, I'm what my friends say I am, I'm what the magazines say I am not. Whereas I don't know, since obviously I've only experienced one gender in this lifetime. Maybe next time I get to try the other one. I can't say how it feels to be male and feel that same onslaught. But for women, it just seems that there are just more tread marks. That it just leaves a little bit more damage. And women just, at least from my experience, tend to be more self-destructive in terms of hating themselves, hating their own body, that they will turn on themselves however they can, and that usually means physically. I mean, it's often emotionally, it's chemically, it's psychologically, but the marks you see are physically. So you will see the anorexia, you will see the bulimia, you will see drug use, you will see track marks, you will see cutting, you will see burning, all those things, because you hate the body you're stuck in, and you don't know how to express it, so it just stays trapped. And also when girls are taught to be quiet and docile and nice girls, and you're taught not to express those things, like where do the ugly things go? So if you're not in a rock band, or if you don't publish, or if you don't make poems or make art or whatever, what do you do? And so you internalize, and it's just sort of like two batteries that are sort of plugged into each other, and it just kind of goes back and forth, and there's this battle that is very physical and very emotional. And so that's why I thought that the essay, the anthology, had so much resonance, because the idea of taking that very internally, damaging self-destructive energy and turning it to creative energy was like, aha! And if you just open the door and just and vomit it out instead of swallowing it all the time, what would that feel like just to get it out of you? And that's why one of the first things I tell fans when they come up to me after reading, they'll tell me stories about, what should I do about this? And I don't know how to handle that. I said, just write it down. I said, it doesn't have to be good. No one's going to read it. You can burn it afterwards. But I said, just put it down on the paper. You know, and I always say it's like training the puppy, just put your shit on paper, because then you don't have to carry it around with you so much. And just the act of just putting it somewhere, even if it's just on paper, is a hugely cathartic thing, because suddenly they don't have to carry it around with them, they don't have to remember it. It can go somewhere. They don't have to be the torchbearer, they don't have to keep all these memories and these secrets and these things. And the idea of being able to transfer that into something else that's physical that you can look at. And maybe the work is ugly, but the creation of it is beautiful. And the way it transcends, you know, the emotional into the physical, into something else that they can put in another room. And it's still there, but they don't have to hold it. That is beautiful. And so the idea of turning, you know, the ugly into the beautiful, the creative into the spiritual, all these moments of transcendence, because I think that's really what all of these women, you know, especially at this age, are doing. They're transcending from girlhood to womanhood. And so many of their choices at this time, their entire life can change in one or two choices. And that's why it's just, you know, that entire period of their life is just littered with landmines.
You correspond with a lot of women, a lot of girls that were dealing with things at the time that they were dealing with. And you detail that a lot in the essay, receiving these emails
Right.
and corresponding and almost acting as a therapist to a lot of these women, it seemed.
I know.
What was the hardest thing about that?
It's hard to hear these stories and realize that for so many of these young women, they're living the same story over and over again. It's like they're all playing Maria in West Side Story. You know, they're going through the very same thing. And I think that if they knew that there were other women who were doing that, they could connect with each other. That, you know, they can share and what they can tell and how they can help each other. And that's one of the beauties of the internet, is that it really connects these very disparate, you know, people around the country for good, but it also can undermine someone's progress by being a place where they can go to get support for more malevolent practices, like the pro-anorexic websites and things. Which upset me very much, especially when girls are posting, you know, pictures of themselves like, look, I made it down to 77 pounds, don't I look great? And it's like, oh God. You know, this one girl who was, you know, showing me, she sent me a picture of herself, you know, with her, you know, head not in the photograph. She was showing herself in her bra and panties, you know, as we're standing there. And her parents had to do bed checks. You know, her mom had to check her before she went to sleep to make sure she wasn't cutting. So she sent me a picture of herself, and she was like a normal, you know, 13-year-old girl, pink, you know, really canopy bed, you know, whatever, staying there, white bra, white panties, you know, no big deal. And I was like, why are you sending me this picture? And she's like, ha ha ha, they're so stupid. Next picture she sent me is her standing there naked, same pose, no head in the photograph. And the cuts were bra shaped and panty shaped. And so she had cut herself so deeply that it looked like she was wearing a black bra and black panties. You know, it was just, you know, the scars and things. And she was really proud of herself. You know, she was like, I'm smart and they are. And it was just, how do I turn this around?